Welcome to today's update video. Today's second update video today. Like, anticipate this happening, and I didn't want to have to explain too much in one video. This is a new Tropical Depression F1 out of Invest 95U, which I did that 50-second clip on earlier. There's an energy as expected. I believe this is Tropical Depression, looking pretty well organized. At the moment, kind of has that somewhat of a sheared look, even though the system's actually lower shear. I mean, with that shears forecast, I'll show you the shear data later, but shears forecast will decrease further. So as a result, system will likely attain tropical storm intensity, or at least come close to doing so, before cool waters take total about 24 hours. You can see the NHC brings the system up to 35 knots in 24 hours. They currently have this as a 25 knot, one of those weird 25 knot depression. Now let's take a look, however. I mean, I did not make this graph. User the Austin man on Storm 2K made this graph. So credit goes to him. I know you're cheap for stealing people's work, but when you post stuff on the internet, that's what happens. Anyway, but regardless what I was told, that does not change the fact that there's a mid-level center here and there's a low-level center is right about here. You can see the distance displaced. So that's why you can see the most convection turning is at the mid-levels. Well, it actually looks really nice in the low levels. I'm not actually sure how much of it is due to shear. Maybe this is because the CZ, as I showed you in my video yesterday, it's kind of has a bit of a curvature to it. This is the convexly coupled wave / M rattle and Julian oscillation pulse. I mean, you can take a look at the RGB. You can see it, even though it's displays, I will point out the system overall looks really nice. And these two systems become perfectly aligned. This system probably will make a lot of mid-level tropical storm intensity. There's also the stratocumulus layer right here. That signifies some dry air, but it's not really getting to drain the circulation. You can see it was the ASCAP pass that kind of made me convinced that the system was a tropical cyclone. You can see a well-defined center in here, surrounded by a nice banding structure that definitely for sure looks like a tropical cyclone. And then here's where the system is right around now, and as they currently move this system very briefly with some very low wind shear and decreasing wind shear values. That's going to allow the system to maintain, even though convection likely won't be very deep, the system will be nearing the sea surface time, will be passing just to the south of the eastern Pacific sea surface temperature gradient, and will be moving into slightly cool waters in the next day or so, to around 25 C. It's still pointing out that shear will be low, so that will allow the system to at least maintain its structure and even become a bit better organized. You know, thunderstorm activity associated with the system may be shallow. The track-wise is pretty good on the system. I mean, the European, which I'll show later, kind of keeps the system a bit further south, even though it's not shown on here. But most of the other models kind of be curved out to sea. I think the recurve options were in favor given the improved organization since the latest European run. Now it's, of course, we gotta go to Invest 94, which is struggling a bit. Doesn't look as good as it did yesterday. I mean, you can see still some nice low-level structure, but there is some mid-level shear, as you can see, right around. As you can see here, the shear is pretty low, but the shear is low to moderate. But will be decreasing once the system moves over in this area in the next area, so that can allow for some steady development. Also has to do with its broad size, as well as the anticipated problem of multiple MLCs. And you can see here, there's a little bit of mid-level shear right around here, and it doesn't take much mid-level shear to disrupt the solar system. So, I mean, moderate wind shear is likely to slow the rate of development, and there appears to be some dry air which is why thunderstorm activity is significantly less, associated with significantly less than it was yesterday. Let's take a look at the model runs quickly. I mean, it's basically the same thing as what's been shown. You can see it develops Tropical Depression 2-E a little bit. Then starts to call for a robust hurricane out of 94E. Then doesn't really develop the system behind 94E that much, which still makes it what would likely be Cecilia. And eventually shows a fourth storm behind it, though not as strong. Some of the, on the long range, the GFS has gone back and forth, and the number of storms are showing, so there's still some uncertainty there. Let's take a look at the European run before I wrap up this video. The sea change channel theme develops. This actually keeps Tropical Depression 2-E a bit further south than we'll probably get. And then she picks 3 on day 8 depicts obviously 94 and then 2 systems behind 94E. The first system in 94E targets stronger hurricanes. Actually, all 3 become potent hurricanes on this run. And now, let's take a very quick look at the HWRF. You can see the HWRF on its first one is going bonkers, calling for about 960 millibar hurricane, calling for about an 85 knot hurricane, which is good enough given how much for me to be convinced that this system will be a strong hurricane, given how much these sort of things struggle with intercore dynamics. The GFDL was a bit weaker, and then the HWRF, but Invest 95E. I'll point out though, I'm not showing it explicitly, but I'll point out that on Invest 94 is a bit weaker. So less bullish with only calling for minimal tropical storm strength with Invest 95E, however, but given its organization, I would not be surprised that not 95E, but Tropical Depression 2-E only calls for 35 knots. This is actually pretty reasonable given that it's near cool waters, and they seem to, in a reasonable manner, weaken the system as it moves over cool waters. So I do buy the HWRF model here, but I haven't looked at the GFDL, but for Tropical Depression 2-E, I don't think it's really worth it, honestly. Anyhow, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope this was easy to understand. Bye.